Hey guys, it's Greg. In this video, I would like to show you World Order. This is a prototype of the game, and the game is made by the authors of Hegemony, so the game that is over here on my shelf. And in World Order, players are going to control one of the four powers on the world, supernations, more or less, because there's also European Union, and it's like a set of nations. And so we have those four powers, and those four powers are going to try to maybe not control the world, but spread their influence over the world and obviously score more points. So in the game we have United States, European Union, China, and Russia. The game is set in 2010, so the political situation in the world is a little bit different than current situation. So this is the prototype of the game, so just keep in mind that some rules can be changed and maybe components can be changed. I don't know. So if you are into this game, just check out the rest of this video. So as you can see, World Order is on a table. Now I am going to tell you more about components and mechanics of the game. So first of all, main board. In here we have our world. And the world is split into, let's say, sectors. So we have Americas in general, we have Europe, Central Asia, East Asia, Pacific, South Asia, Middle East, North Africa, and Africa. And those cubes represent influence of different world powers that are influencing this specific region of the world. So in this game, the game is for 4 players, and in the game you are going to play as a United States, as a European Union, as a China, or Russia. And those colors are assigned to different factions. So white's Russia, yellow is European Union, blue is United States of America, and red is People's Republic of China. In each of those sectors, we have slots for cubes. Those cubes represent influence, but also we have an information of which powers are trying to influence this specific part of the world. And if they do, well, they will score or lose some points. We also have information of how many influence points those regions has. And we also have those cards that are assigned to different parts of the world. So for example, in here, we have a deck of cards for Africa. And in this deck of cards, we have different countries that are, in Africa. So those are the components on main board. We also have a display of cards on the bottom, and you can just basically purchase them to modify your deck. Because in this game, you are going to build your deck of cards, your engine, and you are going to use them to perform different actions. Now, maybe I will tell you more about different elements on the player board. So I am going to move it closer to camera. Okay, so what informations we have here? First of all, we have 3 main resources that you can produce. It's oil, ore, and food. And below we have more specific resources. We have those mobile phones. Those are, I think, specialists. This is influence or diplomacy, and obviously tanks are your military power. So those are different tracks, and those tracks represent how much of each of those resources can you produce. Over here you have a track to track your amount of the resources you have. There's also a track of prosperity. So the more mobile phones you spend, the better, the higher prosperity is in your hegemony, in your power. Well, in this example, in China, so in this country, you're going to get more victory points at the end, and also some money every time you move up on prosperity track. And we also have those 3 spots over here. It's domestic focus, diplomatic focus, and military focus. You're going to choose one of them at the beginning of each round, and depending on what you want to achieve in the specific round, you're going to assign this token over here. Different skills are going to be available for you. So this is a player board, and now more of the cards, because there's a lot of cards around each of the boards. I am going to show you again on an example of China. So China has those two cards over here. Those cards represent the goods that China is producing, and that those goods can be purchased from China by other players. And every time those goods are purchased, so to electronics, those cards are flipped, and China must produce more of those goods to be available again for other players. The rest of those cards on the top of the player board of China, those are the countries that are already allies of the China. So this is the starting setup of the game, and those cards are always going to be, at least in this prototype, those cards are always going to be starting allies of China. So we have Tajikistan, Pakistan, Laos, and Democratic Republic of Congo. What else we also have here? So we have those icons on the bottom, and those icons represent different type of resources that you can again sell or buy. If you want to export something, you are going to count those bigger icons on the left. So if you're starting with this hand, you can export, China can export 2 electronics, 1 oil, 1 food, and 1 military power. This symbol represents import, so this is the only thing that China can import at the beginning of the game. They can only import 1 electronics from Pakistan. We also have different icons on those cards. So basically those are like levels of those countries. And in here we have a symbol of military base. So if there is a symbol of military base, that means that you can build a military base in this country for your advantage. I will go through this in a moment when we are going to talk more about actions in this game. We also have this card, and this card shows you how many export and import actions specific power can do. So in this example, China can perform 3 exports and 3 import actions, and China can buy from United States, from European Union, and from Russia different type of goods and resources. And we also have those cards on the bottom. So there's this deck of those cards. Those are like I would say perks, special skills. So those are asymmetrical skills, and most of those cards that I showed you are, each of those cards that I showed you is completely asymmetrical and specific for not country, power. And in the example of China, we have rise of the middle class, so something. Shanghai Cooperation Organization, rapid industrialization, expansion in the South China Sea, and Belt and Road Initiative. So those are those perks that you can use in your game, but at the start of the game, during the setup, you're going to choose 2 of them randomly, and the rest is going back to the box. So you are going to use only 2 cards per game, and also each of those are going to give you some victory points at the end of the game if you are not going to use them. And finally, we have the starting deck of cards. So this is the deck of cards for China. Those are the cards with different actions that China can perform. So we have growth strategy, those colors, and those actions are going to be, I am going to explain them in a second, but we also have some information on the left. So those magnifying glasses are going to be used in a research phase, and so on and so on. So in a second, those things are going to be more understandable for you. So how this game works and what kind of actions you can perform in this game. So obviously at the beginning of each round, and there is going to be 6 rounds in this game as this track shows you. So at the beginning of each round, apart of the first obviously, there is that upkeep phase that I am going to skip for now, and I will explain it at the end, so it's going to be easier to understand what are you going to do in this upkeep phase. Action phase is played until each of the players played 4 of their cards from their hand. Up to 4 actions per player, and after that action phase ends. Apart of playing a card, you can also do 2 more things. You can decide to pass, and then you're playing one of your cards face down, so you remember that you passed once, and those cards that are played in front of you are just basically you're going to use them as a counter to remember how many actions you have performed. So you can play a card, perform an action, you can decide to pass and then just play the card face down, and also you can play a card face down to get additional 10 money. And this is it. Those are the possibilities that you can do with cards, and now different actions that you can perform. So let's start with green actions. Those are diplomatic actions, and let's start with make new allies, improve relation with a country on a board. So if you are playing as a China, you want to improve those relations with different countries in the world. As a China, as a red player, you're starting in here and in here. So I guess you would start to think that you want to improve those relations with, for example, Bhutan or Philippines. So how you can do this? First of all, you need to pay your diplomacy, and China has 4 diplomacy, but how much you must spend. So China wants to improve their relations with, for example, Philippines. Philippines are level 2, so you need to spend 2 diplomacy to get this card. And when you do this, you are just taking this card, add it to your display, and you improved your relations with Philippines. But it's not all what is going to happen, because if you have other countries from this specific region, from this East Asia Pacific, you can exhaust those cards. So I could exhaust Laos if I wish. Laos is level 1, and thanks to this I am going to get a discount of 1 when it comes to improving those relations with Philippines. So then the cost would be 1 and not 2. What is also important that in this deck we have more cards of the same country. So for example, I want to show you Laos. As you can see, we have second card for Laos, and the Laos is already a friend of China. So if China would get a card of Laos to China's tableau, thanks to that, China can add 1 cube of influence to this specific region. And as you can see, we have 2 types of slots for the cubes. Above the line, this dotted line, and below this dotted line. So spots above the dotted line are permanent spots. So if you put your cube there, where almost 100% this cube is going to stay there till the end of the game. Those spots on the bottom, those are not permanent, and when they are filled with cubes and you want to add another cube, well, one of the cubes is going to be discarded to add the cube of the player that is adding their influence in this specific part of the world. And those numbers in the squares tells you how many victory points you're going to get when you add your cube to this specific region. So another action is engage in a region. So let's go back to East Asia Pacific. This region has 5 points, let's say, or threshold that you need to spend to perform this engage action. And again, you can exhaust your cards to get a discount. So if I would exhaust Laos for 1 and Philippines for 2, if I have Philippines, I have a discount of 3. So 5 minus 3, 2. That's how many diplomacy I need to spend to add one of my cubes to this specific region. And this is basically all. This is diplomatic engagement. And those are 2 actions that you can perform in diplomatic actions. Now let's go to another action, economic actions. So in economic actions, let's start with trade. Trade is quite easy, and I already told you about the trade. So you're going to pay this card, and I already told you you can perform China can export 3 exports and then 3 imports. So you are basically counting those symbols, and then you are importing and exporting those goods depending on what you are doing. So if you are exporting oil, ore and food is going to cost you 5. If you are importing, it's going to be 3, and those specific goods are for 15, 20 or for 10. And this is it. So this is very simple action. And again, if you are importing and exporting those goods, each of the symbols can be counted only once. There is another economic action, and this time it's investment, foreign investment. So invest in allied countries. So you can decide that you're going to invest in allied country, and to do this, you need to exhaust this country and pay the amount that is below the level of this country. So for Tajikistan, that would be 10 money or whatever the currency in here is. And if you're doing this, you are going to put this token on this card or above this card. It doesn't really matter. So you're putting this over here. And thanks to that, you can add 1 influence to this country's region. So as you can see, not only you are going to improve presence in a specific region, but also you are going to use those investments to get more cash in later turn. And now we have another type of actions. Those are domestic actions. So let's start with growth strategy. So here we have it, growth strategy. Get a growth card or produce 3 resources. So the growth cards are over here on top of the board. We have a few of them, and on those piles we have not even number of those cards. So for example, space program and Olympic Games, those cards are just 1 each. And the cards on the left side, so the weakest one, you have I think 3 or 4 of them on those piles. So you need to pay the costs that are on the left, and you're taking those cards. You're going to get more victory points at the end of the game, and also those cards gives you some passive benefits that you can use during the game. A part of the last 2 space program and Olympic Games. As you can see, those cards are empty, so those are going to give you just victory points. The other thing that you can do is produce 3 resources. So you're going to produce the resources that you choose, and how much the resources you're going to choose, it depends on your production level of specific goods. So oil for China is 1, ore for China is 3, and food for China is also 3. And those are 2 actions when it comes to the domestic actions that you can perform. So both of those actions are placed on this one card that is domestic action. Now let's go to military actions, but let's start with this action. So foreign military presence. Thanks to this action, you can build your base in an allied country. So as I told you, on the cards we can find the symbol. That symbol tells you that you can build a base in this specific country. So we also have those tokens tokens of the bases. You're going to put it on one of your cards, the allied countries, that shows this icon, and thanks to that you can spawn your tanks in this region where this country is on a world map. And thanks to this second action, this military reinforcement, you can train more tanks. You can put them on a map, and then you may move them up to 2. But every time you are adding them to the map, or you are moving them around the map, you have to pay 5 money per tank. So it's not free action. And those symbols in here tells you what powers which of the players are trying to dominate in this specific region. So in Africa, for example, European Union is trying to have the most military power present. Now, after each player played 4 of their cards, we are going to research phase, and in research phase, each player is going to, at least in the first round, is going to end with 2 cards in their hands. And in this research phase, you're going to show those cards and spend those magnifying glasses, those values next to the magnifying glasses, to purchase new cards from the display to your hand. So those cards are going to modify what you can do in future turns, and the costs are shown on the right hand side on each of the cards. And now we're going to another step in the round. So after playing cards and after purchasing cards to your deck for those magnifying glasses, we are going to aftermath. And in this phase, we are going to do different things. First of all, you're going to get 3 coins for each of the investments that you have done. So as I said previously, you are going to get more money if you are invest in different countries. Then you are going to increase your prosperity if you wish. So you can increase your prosperity by 1 spending mobile phones, and when you do it, you are going to get some victory points and also some money. And then you need to resolve threat. So threat is resolved in regions where are tanks. So let's, for example, this is China, so China wishes to be here. So let's do something like this. So we have South Asia, and in here we have a symbol of China. So that means that China wants to have military power present in this region, and China wants to have the most military power in this region. That's why this symbol is shown over here. And in this example, United States has 2 tanks and China only 1. So in this example, because of the China is less powerful than United States, China is going to lose 2 victory points. It's always 2 victory points. There's no different rules for that. It's always 2 victory points. So you are going to try to put the most of the tanks in the places where you really want to be present. So when it comes to the China, you want to be in South Asia, Central Asia, and East Asia Pacific. But you also want to mess with your opponents, and even if you're not going to get anything for being present in Africa, but having 4 tanks in Africa blocks European Union, for example. And after that, after this comparison of the power of each of the nations, we are going to move this round tracker up, and we're going to another round. But if it is 3rd or 6th round, you are going to score regions, and those numbers in here tells you how many victory points each of the players is going to score. So for the first place, so in America, let's say United States of the America is the most influential, they will get 7 victory points. But what is the condition of scoring regions? All of the spots above the line, so all of those permanent spots must be covered by the cubes. So in this example, if that would be third round and in Americas there's only 1 cube of United States, this region is not scored because those 2 additional spots should also be covered. And you are going to play in this manner for the 6 rounds, but starting from the second round and till the end of the game, you also need to do this upkeep phase, let's say, that I skipped. And right now, when I explained you how this game works, I can tell you more about this preparation phase, this upkeep phase. So in this upkeep phase, you're going to do simple things. You're going to draw 6 cards to your hand. You are going to reveal new cards of countries in each of the regions. You are going to determine turn order, so the player with the fewest victory points can decide whether they want to be first, second, or whatever last. You can produce primary resources, so you're going to produce the resources depending on your production. And then you can choose your focus. And this is the moment when you can choose your focus and use the ability. So if you are choosing this domestic focus, you can ready 1 country card. So it's not that those cards are going to flip automatically. You need to choose right focus. Then you may spend 6 money to increase any one of your production by 1. Then you can produce mobile phones, but you need to spend 1 oil, 1 ore for 1 mobile phone. And or, well, those cases, and those also oil, food for 1. Get 2 on your research turn. So you're going to get 2 additional magnifying glasses that you can spend. This is like a passive ability. You can spend those magnifying glasses to purchase more cards to your hand. In diplomatic focus, you can ready 4 country cards, so more. You may spend 4 coins to increase your production of diplomacy by 1. You can produce diplomacy paying 3 coins each, and engage costs 1 diplomacy less. So engage this is a type of action that you can perform. And finally, we have military focus, ready 2 country cards, but you may spend 8 money to increase your production of tanks by 1. Train tank, so you spend ore and food, and +1 to your threat whenever you have tanks, and +1 to your defense in each region. So those are those focuses that you can use when playing the game, and you need to choose one of them at the beginning of each of the turns, excluding the first turn, because in the first turn you are going to start with domestic focus, at least in this prototype, as those rules can change obviously. And each player is going to get those handy spreadsheets. And over here you also can see those asymmetrical skills of the powers that are battling over the world. So when it comes to United States, they are member of NATO. USA and European Union do not pose threat to each other. So if the tanks of United States and European Union are in the same region, they are not going to compare their strength, let's say. And superpower overstretch. In each scoring counts the number of regions in which USA has the most influence or is tied for the most. If that number is less than 4, apply the corresponding penalty. So there is extra skill thing penalty for United States, and each of the factions, each of the powers is going to have different of those. So this is World Order. I must say it's a little bit easier than Hegemony. Well, definitely easier. So in the Hegemony, we were playing as a country and we were focused more on the society and, well, building society. In here, we are going to play as the super powerful nations that are trying to control the world. So this is World Order. If you like this game, just check out the description below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and see you in the next one.